Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast, the show where we bring you passionate, honest, and insightful film criticism. I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson, and I'm joined by two of my wonderful colleagues, starting with Mo Shaunette. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing alright. How about yourself, sir?
Doing pretty good. Tired, but excited to talk movies.
Awesome.
And also here we have Maxwell Meyers. He's back!
I'm back!
He's back!
It's the original three.
The original, yes,
The
the
original
terrific trio, right?
I will say, Ben, we have passionate, but I think we could gain a few more followers by adding sensual movie reviews.
You know, Max, I thought about that, but I thought it kind of just went without saying because there's so much sensuality dripping from our voices.
Are we just going to throw in, different adjectives to try and attract viewers? Like, chocolate-coated?
Yes,
it's
why not?
It's gonna be, I like chocolate-coated.
A crispy nougaty center. T.H.O.
All natural.
Organic and gluten-free.
Homeopathic.
Homeopathic, yeah.
Organ grown.
We heal people's minds when they have bad opinions.
We're here to guide you.
Yeah.
What is that?
Now we sound like Jedi.
Yeah, we're getting a little too pretentious here.
Okay.
Well, we are here today. We are doing another one of our classic questions videos, and I should point out it's Max. It's fateful that he's making his return today because you were the one who got us started on question videos originally.
Questions are fun.
And they are fun.
That's it. That's our blurb.
Questions are fun.
And we took some questions from people on Facebook. We're gonna try to give some answers. By the way. Yes, we are on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. Don't follow us on Twitter because I haven't updated in a while.
Don't even look at our Twitter.
No.
We're ashamed.
Don't look at the Instagram either.
How's our Vine page doing? Oh no.
The roots run deep, but there's
our LinkedIn.
I actually do have a LinkedIn page, but it's just my personal page.
Wow, Ben, way to make us look like losers.
But media is fun.
But we got some questions to get through. I'm sure we're gonna have a lot to say. So without further ado, here's the first question.
Let's do it. This
is from Joe Cody. He's from Texas.
Whoa, we got someone from outside our state?
I know.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And he says, one of my favorite scenes in one of my favorite movies is the tracking shot that Scorsese did through the Copacabana Club in Goodfellas. Do you have a movie that you were impressed by that used this same technique?
I'm going to sound like a total rube, and I should have asked this question off camera to not sound like I'm tracking. That's just like an unbroken shot, right?
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, it's
that's what I was like. I'm like, wait, I really should look into this, and then I didn't.
This is a good question, though. Yeah, technically, a tracking shot is like one of those shots where the camera's on track, just going in a straight line, But I think what we're talking about here is just if you guys remember that shot, it's a very long take following Ray Liotta to the club, and it's no cuts, just falling down the stairs through the kitchen to the table.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's what I thought.
Anything like that. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad I asked this question for those who didn't know, because I totally knew.
Great.
Yep. Well, I actually have two for this one.
Go for it.
One is actually just a quick little tracking shot in this movie called The Brothers Bloom, which is
Rian Johnson's movie.
Rian Johnson. I really like it. It's right near the beginning. There's a party sequence, and there's this just tracking shot. You just kind of quickly see all these weird characters that are there, and for a quick blip, you see Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and I think Rinko Kikuchi is lighting a cigarette for someone. It's just a funny little shot. But another one that I like to pick out, and I'm sure we've all heard me talk about it, Silent House. Starring Mary Elizabeth Olsen, is basically one long tracking shot. Before there was Birdman, there was Silent House, a horror film, and
they should put that on the poster.
That's what should have been there. But it's amazing, and it's really great, and it kind of messes with your head. And I would say the twist is mediocre, but the movie itself makes up for any not new or exciting twist. It's a great. For a long time, I was like, is this all filmed in one shot? It was the first time I'd ever seen it. So when Birdman did it, I was like, I already saw a movie like this because I'm a hipster. I'm like,
Ain't you fancy?
yeah, but it's beautiful and it's just really long shots. You can't even tell at times where they break it up other than the obvious spots, like when it goes dark. But it's good. Really, really good. So that would be my favorite tracking shot. The entire movie of Silent House.
Mo?
Mine is technically not a tracking shot, just because it uses trick editing and like effects to make it look like it is. But this is something, tracking shots are also something that Joss Whedon likes to do. And I have seen a lot of his work, as you can imagine. And
Nerd. We are.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
Come on.
Hey, I embrace the nerd label.
I know we are.
But he's done it on his shows a few times. He did it in Serenity, when it was like just that first scene where they're coming down, they're trying to land on the planet, and Mal makes an announcement over the speaker where it's like, "We're coming in for a bit of a bumpy landing. You might feel some slight turbulence, and then explode." And then he just walks through the ship, talks to every one of the crew, and goes down to the cargo bay. And it's just to remind everyone of who the crew is, introduce them to new people who haven't seen Firefly before. But the one I was gonna talk about was the one in Avengers, where it's just during the last fights with the Jatari in New York, where it just pans to all the different heroes fighting.
I remember that, yeah.
You're telling me that wasn't a tracking shot?
That was, and that was not.
It was a track in the sky.
That's just on a
it was designed to look. It works. It gives it like this sense of bigness and for like I don't know if this is a word, grandiosity.
Sure, grandiosity.
Yeah.
I think it's a word. It's now a word.
It makes it feel really epic and cool, and that's basically what the entire third act of that movie is just look at this cool thing we did. We made an Avengers movie.
When you said the tracking shot and you said the Avengers and Joss Whedon, I knew exactly what you were talking about. So it's a memorable scene. I'm like, how do you not forget that scene where it's just like flying from one person to another, using Iron Man as like a moving point.
Yeah, that's the scene I think anyone thinks of when I think of that climax, because that was like kind of the...
That just the shot of them like all standing next to each other in a circle.
Oh yeah. My favorite part is the one where it's like, are you sure about this? And Scarlett Johansson goes, yeah, sure. It'll be fun. And he launches her up into the air. That's my favorite part. Yeah, I say that all the time, like, yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, my favorite shot of this nature is in Steve McQueen's movie Shame, which
he does those a lot too.
Yeah, he does them. He does them so beautifully, I think. And no, it's not. Even though it's a movie about a sex addict, it's not of a sex scene.
It's not a sexy tracking shot.
No.
Well, it's got Michael Fassbender in it, so
yeah,
that's
true. That's true.
With him as a sexy shot.
So this, have you guys seen? Shame?
I think I know the scene you're talking about.
I've seen Shame. I've seen Shame. I mean, I remember watching it and going, I know I should feel bad, but this is a sexy movie.
No, I feel exactly...
And a weird movie.
Exactly
this movie makes me feel weird everywhere.
Well, for those, for our listeners who haven't seen it, it's about a sex addict played by Michael Fassbender. There's a scene where his sister is having sex in his apartment with his boss. But hate it when that happens. And he, he's kind of, pacing around like a tiger, like, just seething, like, like, why is this happening to me? And so he goes out for a jog, he, puts some, classical music on his iPod, and we get this long tracking shot of him in profile jogging, and it lasts forever. The camera's like really just, it's a wide shot framing him, moving along with him as he jogs, and it's simultaneously really repetitive and hard to watch, but also kind of beautiful because you're seeing the camera, move past all these, different buildings with, you're seeing people inside, you're getting a glimpse into these other worlds, and I liked the idea that, through the long shot, I think Steve McQueen was kind of finding a way to express the addictive nature of this character, and his whole life is,
an addiction.
It's built on doing these repetitive things, and it's not just about being addictive to sex, it's repetitiveness that gives him some control, and you really feel that in that shot.
I haven't seen that one in a while. It's also really good on Blu-ray.
You know, I have the. I can only. I don't have a Blu-ray player, but they didn't have like a DVD, so I got the combo pack. So I've got a Blu-ray of it that I've never seen. You know? It feels it's the
exact same as the DVD. It's just everything's way crisper.
Can I give an example of a tracking shot that doesn't work? That's
Yes.
not good?
Yes.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
The first one?
Yes.
Yeah. What was it? When was there a tracking shot there?
I don't know if this counts as a tracking shot. Just the one huge take of seeing the Enterprise.
Oh,
okay.
I remember you going off about that.
And
That was hilarious.
Again, like it occasionally like cuts back to like Kirk and Bones seeing like, oh wow, that's amazing. But it's like 5 minutes of just this model of a spaceship and just seeing it from all these different angles. Like, we get it. It's a spaceship. Move on.
I'd like to take this opportunity to say that I still think the motion picture is the worst Star Trek film of all time, and also I think I think it's a real indicator of that movie's quality. The premiere of William Shatner and James Doohan fell asleep, so that's something to think about. Well,
that's uncomfortable.
So yeah, tracking shots.
Tracking shots.
Tracker Jackets.
On to our next question, also from Joe Cody. He sent us 3, so we've...
Wow.
Yeah.
Joe, what an overachiever.
Yeah.
We're here to answer all your questions.
In fact, I want to take this moment. I was worried we weren't going to have enough questions, and in a panic on Facebook, I was like badgering everybody I knew, like, seriously, give us questions to help us, and Joe came through in a big way, so thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Everyone else, pick up the slack.
Yeah,
come on.
Joe. Joe can't support us all the time.
Like us on Facebook already.
Yeah. So Joe says, thoughts on CGI used in films. When is enough?
I think once it starts to take away from the film.
I like that, yeah.
Or if all you're doing is relying on CGI. I think that's the only time it's really... that's the only time it takes away. My other opinion on that was, I think it's cool when we get some practical effects like Mad Max.
Yeah.
But even Mad Max still relied a little bit on CGI for some of it.
A lot of it, yeah. Just entire backgrounds.
Exactly. But, I think it's cool to see that done practically, and I don't think it's fair to be like, oh, CGI is ruining everything.
Well,
but
we only complain about CGI when we notice it.
Yeah, yes. When you notice it, and when it's a problem, and I think if you're complaining about it, then there's probably a problem with it. But it's what can you? And then the question is, what is too much CGI? That's a harder question to answer because look at the Jungle Book. That entire thing was almost CGI, except for a little boy.
Basically an animated film.
Yeah, but good. It was a good movie. It worked, and I wouldn't say it was too much. Where else are you gonna get a panther to befriend a child like that, or a Christopher Walken orangutan of that size? That was cool. That scene with Christopher Walken attacking with all the monkeys, so good. I love that part, and would not be possible without CGI or breaking a lot of animal labor laws.
Or resurrecting the Gigantopithecus, which is extinct.
Gigantopithecus. Oh man, could you imagine?
You bring up a good point with Mad Max. I remember I saw a video that showed some unexpected places where you wouldn't think there'd be CGI, like where they added a cliff in the background where there wasn't one, or maybe added a couple extra cars, and as a person who is leery of CGI, that gave me pause. I was like, it is. It's as we just talked about, it's only when it sticks out that it's really bad. But I'll get to all that later. So
I think that I think my issue is more when filmmakers use CGI as a crutch.
Sure.
Because we like to give props to practical effects, which is if they come together really nice, they can add a level of reality to a film, makes it a lot more interesting, a lot more visually engaging. But that's tough because you got to make not only really good practical effects, you got to shoot them right.
Yes.
And with CGI as a crutch, you can kind of just set up the shot however you want, and in some cases that's freeing. But sometimes, you'll find filmmakers who use it just as an excuse to not necessarily be sloppy, but not put in as much effort.
Yeah.
And that to me is like the bigger issue of like, is there too much CGI? Well, sometimes that works. I've seen CGI characters that work, you know, like not, you mentioned the Jungle Book, the Planet of the Apes movies, like I just Andy Serkis doing the mocap.
Yeah.
Andy
that
Serkis,
works.
period.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure he's a real human being anymore. He's mostly CGI at this point.
So
his home.
I was almost going to mention Dr. Manhattan, but that would mean praising Zack Snyder, and I can't do that.
I support you in not praising Zack Snyder.
But and then like, it's and the other thing, someone brought this up. You look at TV level like superhero shows, like you look at something like Supergirl, where they're working on maybe 1/10 of the budget of like a major motion picture. But sometimes it really comes off as a lot more engaging because it's like we can't rely on special effects because it's going to look goofy and cheap. So let's instead focus on character drama or actors' performances or comedy or da-da-da-da-da-da. Because we're like, I don't really show up to those shows for the spectacle of it all. It's for the characters. And that's what keeps me coming back.
Golden age of television, baby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
We're in the age of Iron Fist.
They can't all be winners, Mo. Did you finish it yet? Have you even finished it, Mo?
I have not.
I have,
I'm gonna keep watching this. Ooh, Gilmore Girls is on. Click.
No!
Ooh, there's a new MST3K. Click.
Just finish it, Mo.
I can play Overwatch for another 3 hours instead of watching Iron Fist, because that's
Finish
a better
him.
use of my time.
Oh, God.
Well, I feel
I want to hear another complaint until you finish your Iron Fist, mister.
I don't complain all I damn please. That show sucks.
Well, I feel like with the issue of CGI, I agree with what a lot of you guys are saying, and I definitely prefer practical effects in most cases. You know, I don't think anything can beat that amazing tumbling hallway in Inception, which was real, and I also think thinking about say the puppet Yoda versus the CGI Yoda. Yeah, the CGI Yoda had a lot more flexibility, but just automatically by being a real thing that existed, the puppet was more convincing, even though it didn't have as good a range of motion.
It also couldn't flip.
That was, except I think that was a good thing.
Oh.
But aside from that, when I really think CGI doesn't work is I think it's when a filmmaker is trying too hard to be real. Mm. Like I think I'm one of the few people that feels that Avatar, in terms of visual effects, was not as great as it's thought to be. Because I personally think like that jungle was made to look photorealistic. I honestly thought it looked kind of like a screensaver. I thought it looked sort of plasticky and airless because he was trying so hard to get it to a point of realism, and you can't do that. We saw like what the great Tarkin disaster in Rogue One that just proves like how
nice try.
How misguided it is to try and make make animation photography. They're two totally different mediums, and I think you have to treat them as such. Which is why I love, seeing a movie like Mirror Mask, which Neil Gaiman wrote, which so good, right?
Good.
And the Dave McKean, the director, he wasn't trying to make that real. He let it be as fanciful as it could be, and the result is something. It's not like a photograph; it's like a collage. And the fact that it's more fanciful makes it feel more real. Just in the way that like. The Incredibles, because it's animation and can really, be zany and doesn't have to, conform to the laws of live action, feels more real than, that,
It's consistency of tone.
Consistency of tone, yes, yeah. And I would, so I think, I mean, I would, I guess I would have to say, CGI is, it's a tool. It's all about how you use it, a hammer, can be misused, but we, We don't say, let's, throw out, ban all hammers because Ryan Gosling, crushed someone's finger and drive. So, and that's, I guess, I also always prefer practical effects, but I've really come to believe that, as I think, you guys were nodding towards, CGI can do some pretty incredible things, and it does open some pretty exciting doors.
Christopher Walken orangutan. Love it.
I just love orangutans, period.
I love orangutans.
I mean,
like you mentioned, CGI Tarkin from Rogue One. I'm just thinking back, again, to Watchmen, but also to X-Men Days of Future Past. Well, they both had actors playing Richard Nixon. They're both in heavy prosthetics. The guy playing Nixon in Watchmen looks completely fucking ridiculous. It just looks like there's a pound of plaster on his face.
And that's so distracting.
And I think I think maybe that was what they were going for, but why?
Yeah.
That comes back to Zack Snyder.
That comes back to what? Why?
You could ask that question, I guess, about anything Zack Snyder does. But
usually there's answers, and that answers are
the answer is usually Batman could get raped in prison.
Wait, what?
Yeah, don't you remember? Do you remember when he said that?
I remember that interview where it's I want to do a dark Batman. It's going to be where Batman goes to prison and gets raped in prison.
Yeah, he said, people say Batman Begins as dark, but I didn't think it was that dark. In my Batman movie, Batman could get raped in prison.
No, he couldn't.
Why?
That's the point. If he even went to prison, also. Who would be able to rape we watch him take down Killer Croc and 15 armed guards at once. Who's going to rape Bruce Wayne?
You've just...
I don't know how that could happen. Who can hold down a Batman? I'm sorry, you got me all fired up.
See, already you're more qualified to direct a Batman movie than Zack Snyder, because you understand that.
I'm still looking back to that interview David Goyer did, where he talked about, talking about superheroes, where it was in my version of Martian Manhunter, it would be there was some Martian germ or bacteria that grew into a person, and then blah blah blah. And it's no, that's stupid. He's an alien. He's from Mars. He is a Martian who comes to Earth and becomes a superhero. And also he talks about how he called the She-Hulk a green porn star that the Hulk could fuck, which is
what?
Wrong on a lot of levels.
I think David Goyer falls into the, lucky to be here category.
I think David Goyer shouldn't be writing superhero movies. He doesn't seem to like them very much.
Oh boy.
Oh right,
we got off topic.
It's time for another question. This one is from Josh O'Rourke of Portland.
Good, someone local. I love to shop local.
And he writes, with the rise of digital, Netflix, and direct-to-video, where do you see the future of the theater in 5 to 10 years? Could it become obsolete someday? What do you guys think?
Oh, do you mean theater, live theater, plays, or just actual movie theaters?
Actual movie theaters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said the theater. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. What
he meant theater with an ER, not RE.
Whatever. I'd see it'll stick around because we've been through this before. Because this is what happened when television came out.
Yeah.
Where it was all of a sudden our cheap date night option is not go out and see the latest Liz Taylor flick. It's stay in and watch I Love Lucy or whatever.
Sure.
I Love Lucy.
This did lead to the old Hollywood guard collapsing in on itself. There was a bunch of other factors leading up to that, but that's kind of how it ended. And then we got the film brats, and then we got hey, it's the 70s. We have a bunch of new filmmakers who are gonna do new stories, and it led to really inventive, really great things. We got Spielberg out of that. We got Coppola. We got Lucas. We got all these people, and I don't think we're gonna go through that again. Granted, current film production is kind of bloated at this stage, where it's everyone either wants to make the tentpole, which is the big, huge blockbuster that's gonna make its money back with opening weekend sales, or the low-budget, limited release kind of thing that's does not break $10 million in budget and can make its money back easy. No one wants middle-of-the-range stuff. But movie theaters, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. because there's still an appeal to communal viewing. There's still an appeal to making an event out of going to a movie. And I still need a job. So yeah, theaters are going anywhere.
Well said, well said. Max, what do you think?
Oh, I don't think they're going anywhere. At least not in 5 to 10 years. I think we'll hit that point where, like, the earth will be scorched and people will talk about how we used to go to buildings where they'd show moving pictures. I think that's when...
That sounds like a scene from Mad Max.
That's basically like that's like the only world I can imagine without movie theaters. I mean, as long as people are making movies, I think movie theaters will still exist.
Yeah.
It's kind of... I mean, what I could see it happening is maybe somewhere way down the line, way past 10 years, becoming more of like a... like, kind of like going to the theater, like, oh, we're going to see the new movie, like, at this place, because it's not going to be playing on Netflix, and they're going to be showing it in the theater, like,
Sure.
like that kind of a thing, like, I
kind
see
of
it
like magazines becoming, like, more of a luxury item.
yeah, like, oh, someone subscribes to Food Network and doesn't just watch the channel, like, no, I think it'll be something like that, but way down the line, not 5 or 10 years, I think it would have to collapse in on itself, as Mo said. Or there'd have to be some real missteps in a lot of places, but I think I see it becoming more of a specialty thing before it ever going away completely.
Also,
Yeah.
it's kind of just like kind of an ethnocentric viewpoint, because like you look at the biggest change in movie trends recently has become the importance of the Chinese market.
Yeah,
And how important it is. It's like, we can't just make a movie that appeals to Western audiences. We gotta have something in it for Chinese dollars.
Yeah.
Capitalistic and bleak, but true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this...
And it could lead to interesting stuff, but so thus far it's just like, hey, we're gonna put Fan Bingbing in the movie for like 5 minutes.
Or maybe we'll just make an entirely different movie just for China with starring the same actors.
Well, yeah, I mean, I gotta echo a lot of what you guys are saying. I mean, I don't think theaters are going anywhere. I mean, first of all, I think the theatrical experience is the best way to see a film. I don't think anything is ever going to beat looking up at an image on a giant screen where there's total blackness and all you see is that image. I mean, just if you're at home, you're going to be in semi-darkness, seeing the clock out of the corner of your eye or the bookshelf.
Getting distracted by your Facebooks and your Twitters.
Yeah, that's how it
to
is.
take a leak.
Yeah, that's I mean.
True movie watching is holding it until you get a bladder infection.
Holding it for 3 hours.
Yeah, I mean the theater just offers the best you can get, but. And for that reason, I don't think anyone's going to let it die. But let's put that aside for a second. I'll tell you a couple monetary reasons why it's not going to go away.
Ooh.
Theaters are not going away when movies like Beauty and the Beast and The Fate of the Furious are making $1 billion worldwide. And also, they're not going away while when you have a movie like Moonlight, which cost I think like $1.5 million.
Yeah.
Dollars to make, and I'm pretty sure it made like $20 million in the United States, and you know what that means? That means Moonlight is probably more profitable in terms of the percentage of the profit than the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be able to say that sentence. So I mean, bottom line, there is an artistic reason to keep theaters around, and there's a money reason, and money writes a lot of the laws in Hollywood. So
I still think, and I like that on-demand stuff exists, because then you can get new different voices.
Yes,
out there
yeah.
into the
There's just more options. Yeah.
Like, wasn't Ex Machina released like through on-demand directly?
I don't know.
Manchester
That's
by
a
the
good
Sea with
question.
Amazon.
That's true, yeah. Oh, and Velocity of Zed, which everybody should see, is Amazon. Amazing film.
And but like Netflix doing stuff like 13th, doing stuff like The Little Prince, and also their deal with Adam Sandler, but we're gonna ignore that for now.
My name is Andy Waxel.
Actually, I'm okay with Adam Sandler existing on Netflix.
See, I'm okay with it too, because I'm actually happy for him, because he can he can he can do whatever he wants and not have to worry about losing studio's money.
See, I would almost rather him.
As crazy and crude as he
I
wants.
would rather him lose money because then maybe it might make him stop for a second and go, maybe I should rethink this a little bit before think a little bit longer before I just go and do something. But at the same time, I'm perfectly fine not seeing an Adam Sandler movie trailer before any of my movies. I'm like, because it just saves me the less opportunities to go, that's not going to be good. Alright.
By the way, I'd just like to make a plug for the April Fool's Day editorial last year when I said Adam Sandler should replace Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was pretty funny. But you guys ready for another question?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This requires a bit of a preamble.
What?
There's a book on the table now.
Yeah, there's a book. Yes, this is from Jim McCloskey, California. He says, and I have kind of a long answer for this one, so bear with me.
Okay.
He says, why weren't there any Bothans in Rogue One?
I know the short answer.
I don't even know what a Bothan is.
Okay, so
I meant to look that up.
I'm gonna have to go deep to answer this one.
Go for it.
First of
We're
all,
gonna let you take the lead on this one, Ben.
First of all, there's actually a story behind this question. Jim posed this question, and which is in reference to in Return of the Jedi. The line, many Bothans, died to bring us this information. The plans to the second Death Star, and so my friend Josh, corrected Jim and said, that was the second Death Star. They wouldn't be in Rogue One because Rogue One's about the creation of the first Death Star. And I said, that's true. It's a good point. But I also thought, well, the Bothans are an alien race that was, part of the Rebel Alliance. Why weren't they around in Rogue One? So I decided to find out.
Is this just an elaborate setup for you to talk about Star Wars lore?
Yes.
Hey, well, we all have our passions. I don't know what a Bothan is. Let's find out where this is going.
You guys are gonna like this.
You have
this
your passions. I'm gonna take a nap.
So this all has its roots in when Disney bought Lucasfilm. Before Disney bought Lucasfilm, there was all this Star Wars spin-off material. There was novels and comic books, and it all formed what was called the Expanded Universe, and it had some incredible stuff like the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn and the Dark Empire comics, which are, in my mind, possibly the best Star Wars comic books in history. And but then Disney buys Lucasfilm and says, we want a clean slate. The Expanded Universe is now all classified as Star Wars Legends. It still exists, but it's off in its own continuity. We're creating a whole new continuity. None of that stuff happened. And so,
is the Star Wars Holiday Special still continuity?
Oh gosh, I hope so. But so I went on to the wonderfully titled Star Wars Wikipedia.
Oh my!
And I looked up like what's canon about the Bothans now.
Okay.
Well, not much. There's very little that's canon under the new Disney stuff. So I had to look to the Legends continuity to get an answer to Jim's question. So and I understand this is getting really nerdy now, but
oh, now it's getting really
fair point, touche. So I brought out the Star Wars: The Essential Guide to Characters, which is written by Andy Mangels, who I believe lives in Portland.
When was that published?
Oh, a long time ago. And so
there's probably a new expanded version.
There's an entry on Borsk Thalia, who is the most iconic Bothan character in all of Star Wars. And what Andy Mangels says is, joining the rebellion just after the Battle of Yavin, Borsk Thalia and his faction arrived about the same time as the Mon Calamari. So, the Battle of Yavin was at the end of A New Hope. They joined, that faction joined after New Hope, so that could explain why they weren't in Rogue One. Maybe there were no Bothans in the
Involved.
Rebel Alliance until after the Death Star was destroyed.
So the Bothans that died weren't there.
Yes,
They were getting the plans for the Death Star.
Well, later, but
Later.
but they maybe were not part of the Alliance at all.
What?
And
This has been an exercise of some sort.
So those,
I'm learning about Bothans today.
that may or may not make sense. I don't know, but I enjoyed this question. I enjoyed going deep into some really geeky lore.
I was gonna say, you know what? His question's better than all the questions that nobody else asked. So,
Good point.
hey, you don't hear us talk about Bothans? Maybe ask a question next time about De Niro.
Many Bothans died to bring us these questions. So
Many
what can you
Bothans
say?
died.
They had it coming.
They're kind of like lemmings. They die a lot.
They kind of.
They're like mayflies. They have a lifespan of like a day.
So I'm let's move on to our next question.
Yes.
This is one. Some of it we've touched on before. Some of it we haven't. But it was a while ago, and it's got some stuff that I always love going back to. So
Times are always a changing.
times are changing.
Time's a flat circle.
We've got another
Time's
question
illusion.
from Joe, and it's favorite
Lunchtime
actor.
doubly so.
Yes. So Joe writes, favorite actor and why, favorite director and why, favorite movie and why, generic questions I know, but people need to know. Oh, and favorite genre of film. So, actor, director, film, genre. What, who wants to start?
We take it a piece at a time. I think that sounds a little easier.
Let's take it a piece at a time. Let's start with actor.
Actor. Does that also include actress?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's wonderful.
I was gonna do one of each, so.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, cool, yeah.
Favorite actor.
I might have to do that too then.
Oh my.
So I'll start because I got an answer. His favorite actor is it's shifts around a lot. There's always someone who I'm keeping an eye on to see like what's gonna be their next big thing. But for me right now, it's probably gonna be J.K. Simmons as my favorite actor.
Well chosen.
He has a tremendous talent for comedy. He works almost constantly. Like if you watch pretty much any TV show, he'll likely show up at some point. He is always a delight. He's very funny. He can do serious stuff too. He was well-deserved Oscar for Whiplash.
Yeah.
Terrifying and fantastic, and he was the best part of the original Spider-Man movies, and he is
So good, yeah.
He is a delight, and he is the best. So J.K. Simmons, that's my pick.
I love that, yeah. What about actress?
Actress is probably Charlize Theron
Nice.
because she can do it all, and she it's like. Mad Max is going to be the one I go back to always as like probably my favorite role of hers, but honestly the one that really sold me, this is a weird answer, would be in A Million Ways to Die in the West.
Ooh.
Because
I like that movie. I don't care. It's dumb.
It's a fine comedy movie.
It's exactly. It didn't pretend to be a really smart comedy. I mean, it was Seth MacFarlane. What were you expecting? So yeah, it was exactly what I wanted it to be.
But she's the best part of it, and she doesn't miss a beat. Like everyone, you don't catch her acting. Like everyone else, it feels like they're putting on a performance. She's just being the character, and that's what impressed me. And she was really like legitimately funny, and so she's my pick. I also like Young Adult. Did you guys see Young Adult?
Oh, I love Young Adult. So
It's
great.
heartbreaking.
It's incredible.
And she's so good in it.
She is. I love that. I just love how unabashedly awful she is. Like the scene where she says, to the guy in the bookstore, "Whatever, bookman." It's just she cut loose and she wasn't afraid to go to some really really ugly places, and perversely, I think that made the character more sympathetic because you see how lost she is.
Motivated. That's what gets you into a character. It's not likability, it's motivation.
Yeah.
Like, you watch Breaking Bad for 5 seasons, it's not because Walter White is the best guy ever you want to see. It's like he wants to be the meth kingpin of America. And you're gonna see him do it.
Gotta see it happen.
So yeah, those are my picks for actors.
Yeah, I would just add. I mean, what you said about in A Million Ways to Die in the West, Charlize Theron just being and everyone else kind of playing a character, giving a performance. Like I feel that way actually about both her and J.K. Simmons. I feel like they are the character. I mean, even J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson when he's wearing a crazy wig and playing a cartoon
and
character.
Teeth.
Yeah, I believed in him, and I think they're both wonderful. Max, what about you?
For actor, I actually have a tie. I can't.
Go for
Can't
it.
pick.
There are no rules.
There are no rules. There is only Zool.
Well played.
I really like Steve Martin.
Nice.
I find myself coming back to Steve Martin. Like I got like you said, you always kind of have your eye on one person or another. I always feel like whenever I'm like, I wake up in the middle of the night or I'm just sick, I'm like, I really want Steve Martin to just come in and be Steve Martin and make me laugh. Whether it's hanging out with Queen Latifah, trying to be urban, or hanging out with Martin Short and Chevy Chase as the Three Amigos, or even his weird movie with Helena Bonham Carter, Novocaine, where he plays a dentist where weird things are happening to him. Like
I've never seen that, but I want to now.
It's crazy. He plays.
I have seen Little Shop of Horrors where he also played a dentist.
He's not nearly as sadistic in that one, but and that one has Laura Dern and Helena Bonham Carter, and it's a weird, but like I just love seeing Steve Martin pop up somewhere. Recently, right now, he did this thing. He teaches you how to do comedy. It's like an online class you can pay for, and honestly, I considered paying for it only for the fact that I'm like, I would love to see Steve Martin be Steve Martin. I'm like I don't really know if comedy can be taught. I mean, I think you can be taught the basics, but
Sure.
I think much like writing, you could take a screenwriting class, but unless you have a good idea, it does you no good. I'm like, it just tells you how to write a movie.
Yeah.
Didn't he describe himself as like the fourth most famous banjo player in America or something?
Probably. And I believe it. He plays the banjo. He sings songs. He's kind of just a weird, fun guy. And I feel like whenever he's in a movie, I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on. Like
one of the times he hosted SNL, he just did a banjo song that was about being late for school.
Sounds right.
And it's like it was a fun song, and it was. It wasn't necessarily a comedy, but it was a fun song.
Well, and I really like him. Just even when he's not being super wacky, like in It's Complicated.
I was gonna bring up It's Complicated. Yeah.
Where the wackiest he gets is that he gets high with Meryl Streep. Like that's about like as wacky as he gets in that movie. And I also really like him in Shop Girl.
Nice.
He just pops up and he always just seeing him around makes me happy. I really like Steve Martin. But easy tie, Bill Murray.
I
mean, Bill Murray might not always make the best choices, but you know what? Or like maybe his movies aren't the best, but I mean, like I like that he just kind of does what he wants. Like he's like, I am gonna be in Get Smart, but only for one scene. I'm gonna be one secret agent hiding in a tree, and that's my job.
He is the most interesting man in the world.
He's the most interesting person. Like I read an article. It was someone said it was working with Bill Murray and how to get him to do a job, and it was like he doesn't have an agent. Like he just has someone you call who's like a lawyer,
right?
And then he tells you where to send something, and then if Bill Murray's interested, he may contact you. But mostly, he goes, and then when he contacted me, he said, as long as I don't have to drive anywhere farther than maybe 20 to 30 minutes from my house, I will do this job. And so they changed a few locations so they could make it work, and that's just Bill Murray. He's just who he is. He does a Netflix special. He is going to go on tour with Paul Schaefer here.
Whoa.
He just because Paul Schaefer is doing like a comedy thing, and he's like, I'm on a tour with Paul Schaefer for a while. Like he's just Bill Murray, and he's Ghostbusters. He's Groundhog's Day. He's all of these things, and
I just remember him like showing up like in the last season of Parks and Recreation.
That too. He was on a single episode of Angie Tribeca. Which is the show created by Steve Carell, and it stars Rashida Jones, and it's basically Airplane in a TV series, but it makes fun of cop shows, which there's a lot of them, and it's really funny. It's really good, but he plays like a guy who's just in charge of stocking any paper on a tube in a grocery store. That was his. But this is the thing about Bill Murray. I mean, aside from his great movie choices and doing drama. Broken Flowers, Lost in Translation. I mean, he can really do whatever he wants, including steal a French fry off of someone's tray at a Wendy's, which may or may not happen. Because this is the thing is, like, there's that story. Have you heard about that?
No.
Supposedly, some guy goes, Bill Murray came up to me at a Wendy's, took a fry off my tray and ate it, and looked me dead in the eye and said, "No one will ever believe you," and then walked away. And this is the thing: is either A, it's true, and I totally believe it. I mean, who's gonna believe?
It sounds like a scene in a Bill Murray movie.
Who's gonna believe that Bill Murray's
not true? Because that just means he's just a moocher.
Well, but see, and this is the thing: is that if it's not true, the fact is that it's believable enough because he's Bill Murray. And that's just how he. I would love to hit a point in my life where
he's just
someone
a weird magical elf who wanders into people's lives.
Someone goes, I hear he gets drunk and sometimes goes to the grocery store and then yells at kids, and I go, I'm okay with it.
Sad.
I'm like, that's sad, but at the same time, I was like, he's done enough.
What have the kids done?
I'm like, well, maybe the kids antagonize him. I don't know. He had to do Garfield 2, A Tale of Two Kitties. He's paid his dues. He's done
In his defense,
time.
he thought it was written by the Coen brothers.
Wait, the second
because
one?
it was by
Ethan Coen.
Coen.
Oh, no.
And he thought it was written by Ethan Coen.
Well, he tried to save Garfield while...
You know, it's funny because I actually made that mistake too.
So
sad to find out the truth.
So, but I mean, so it's really hard. So I guess, even though maybe they're not like the most obvious choices, but I'm like, they themselves as humans are such wonderful people, and I love to see them to just succeed. And just Bill Murray is basically a mythical creature at this point.
Yeah.
And he can do whatever he wants, including go on tour with Paul Schaefer, because that's just how he has set up his life. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, both. Steve Martin and Bill Murray. I think they're both incredible, and Bill Murray. There's something so, singular about his sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
I always come back to the scene in Groundhog Day where he says, "I don't even have to floss," and he shoves an entire piece of cake in his mouth. It's just there's kind of an oddness and a bizarreness to his humor that I can't imagine anyone else getting. It's like something from another dimension. You can't quite explain why it's funny,
with himself.
But he is at ease, and it works.
He just knows who he is. And I think some people just know who he is, and I think this other thing is just be yourself, and people will like you. And I think he is himself, and I don't think everybody likes him. I'm sure the Groundhog Story. Did you know they filmed that in reverse, right?
No, I knew I knew there was some fighting.
There was some fighting with him and the director. Well, he got Ivan. No.
Was that Ramis or Reitman?
Harold
Ramis. Right.
Harold Ramis, after working with him, knows how Bill Murray gets. So when he filmed it in reverse because he knew that he goes at the beginning of production, Bill is great. Bill has fun. He's the light of the party. Always by the end of production, he gets grumpy. He goes. He purposely filmed the ending scenes first when Bill Murray is happy and go lucky, and when he's just angry and yelling at everyone. That was near the end of production because he goes, I knew he wouldn't have to work that hard. And I think that's okay, because
that's pretty brilliant.
It's that I'm well, what does that say about him as, a coworker? I'm I think that's just who he is, and I think the fact that he turns in good work and people know how to work with that. Harold Ramis is I know what I'm getting into, but this is going to be great. And guess what? It is great. So there you go.
Wes Anderson said the same thing about, Gene Hackman on the World Tenenbaums. He said
a monster.
Yeah, he said it was a pain to work with Gene Hackman, but I got what I wanted. I got what I wanted when I cast him. He gave a great performance, and I think
Angelica Houston said that actually it was really great. She goes, it was kind of nice. It actually gave us all something to unite against. So it made everyone in the cast and crew grow closer.
I love that.
And I was I've been in those work situations, Angelica.
Did you want to do an actress too, or?
I was trying to think of one. I would probably go either Natalie Portman or Salma Hayek.
Nice.
They always pick, maybe they don't always pick the most interesting roles, but I like Salma Hayek. I love seeing her. She seems happy, and she's beautiful.
Yeah.
She picks really interesting choices at times. Was The Tale of Tales was one of the last things she did, and she was great in that. She's going to be in one later this year with, funnily enough, Third Rock from the Sun.
French Stewart?
No.
Wait,
John Lithgow?
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Oh, nice.
And she plays a woman who does massage and healing, and she gets invited to dinner at like an upper class white family, and he comes in and he's a businessman. He kind of has some Donald Trump-esque tendencies, and like she goes, well, I came to this country at this point, and he just interrupts and goes, legally? Like, to give you an idea, like, the dynamics. The trailer's really cool. I think it's like dinner with something. I can't remember, but I'm excited.
Cool.
And Natalie Portman's just cool. She always kind of, I sometimes I can't really pin her down. Like, I think I know what she's going to do, and then she goes and does a song with Lonely Island. And then she does Mr. Gregorian's Wonder Emporium, and then she disappears, and then she becomes Black Swan, and then she does Your Highness. So I'm just like, you know, she also just seems like an actress who just kind of does what she wants.
And she also did Tale of Love and Darkness, which I didn't see, but which sounded interesting.
Right, which she directed too,
yeah,
right?
She directed. She was like the lead actress in it.
She stuck out. Jane Got a Gun.
She survived the prequels.
She did.
She did. I mean, I think so. I would say I'm like she's at least at the very least a very versatile actress, and I like her. She makes. I think sometimes like music and movies, I'm just like, I kind of want to like the person. I'm like, sure, you could do a good job, but I'd like to also know that you're nice.
Yeah.
Gives me a sense of security.
I would also add, I mean, she's in Terrence Malick's new film, Song to Song, and as an actor, I think it's very hard to stand out in a Terrence Malick movie because he is the star of all his movies. But in a good way, I think. But she does stand out in that movie. She's really incredible, and she's one of the people you remember.
That's excellent. I want good things for her.
Me too, yeah.
Happy pregnancy, lady.
Well, I honestly sweated a lot over this question because
it's hard to narrow it down.
It is hard to narrow it down. Yeah, I found it much harder than picking a favorite director, and I thought, you know, like, well, I can't just choose someone who I think is a really great actor because, I mean, you know, we're talking, you know, over a century of great actors now. You know, I mean, I could justify putting so many in there, and I was trying to think, you know, well, who is an actor who's really great, whose performances are not only consistently really compelling, but also really moved me. And I finally thought of Christian Bale, and I was I think Christian Bale, like, you know, we all think about Bale in terms of, you know, the crazy stunts, you know, the weight loss, the weight gain, yeah, the comb over,
the lighting guy,
yeah, the comb over in American Hustle, you know. But when I think about Christian Bale, I think about how he's able to play these, you know, very very eccentric characters, and he's always able to find such incredible humanity in them. And I just want to use one scene as an example that I think kind of shows what he does in all his films. There's an incredible scene in The Fighter where he's a drug addict in prison, and he's the whole prison's gonna watch.
So Batman did get raped in prison.
Yeah, oh, no! He's gonna watch a documentary on HBO about his drug addiction, and so he comes in to the room with the TV, and, like, you know, he's acting like a celebrity, like, you know, he's like, you know, oh, I'm on TV, you know, he's kind of spreading his arms, you know, and people are applauding, and, you know, he owns the room, and he's kind of smirking at this idea. It's like, you know, oh, you know, it's kind of amusing that, you know, they're making, you know, this movie about what a schmuck I am, and but he's watching the movie, and slowly you watch him start to change, and you see. You see him, like, watch his you know footage on TV of his son watching him at his trial, and you see him start to realize, you know, like, what have I done with my life? And, like, finally he gets up and says, you know, turn this off, and, you know, he says you know, like you know, that's my son. He's crying. He needs me, and he breaks down in that moment, and he's just there's so much sensitivity and vulnerability in him, which it's strange to say about, you know, the guy who played Batman, for Christ's sake, but
you need that.
You do need that, yeah, and that's why I think he's really great. As far as actresses go, that's I'm gonna go with the first name that pops into my head, and that's Ava Green, because she is.
You love her.
I love her. Yes, yeah.
She goes hard.
Yes, yeah, she is, I feel like she's like a 30s movie star in the 20th century. You know, she does something that a lot of actors now don't know how to do. She actually has fun acting. You know, she plays these crazy, theatrical characters, and she goes over the top in a really incredible, exciting, dynamic way, and a great example, I think, of how compelling she is in the Dreamers, which is her first movie role. She has to say this line. She's talking about this guy Jacques, and she has to say, "If shit could shit, it would smell like Jacques," and she says it like, "If shit could shit, it would smell like Jacques." And she turns this really kind of gross line into poetry, to the point where for months I didn't even realize what she was saying because it sounded so beautiful. And so I love her. But I mean, I could go.
Have you watched Penny Dreadful at all?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, she goes hard as a motherfucker.
I believe it. I believe it.
Like you meet her in the first few episodes, like she's like the femme fatale kind of. She's like mysterious and enigmatic, like you don't know what she is. She knows more about what's going on. And then like it moves forward and you find out like she's sensitive to magic and she is prone to demonic possession apparently. And so she goes like full exorcist, like Reagan McNeil all throughout the second half of the first season, and it's bananas.
That sounds awesome.
It's a lot. It's super huge, and it really works with like being gothic melodrama. She fits in perfectly.
That's what I like about her. Like I don't, as much as I'd be interested to see her in like a more like realistic role, and I think she could do it. I kind of don't want that.
I feel like
that's not
kind
really
of
who
her
she is.
in Casino Royale.
I was gonna say Casino
Kind of,
Royale,
yeah. But even then, there you've got this kind of like old school glamour, and my God, like that first scene where she enters on the train and says, "I'm the money." The first line she says in that movie. I don't think there are many actors who could pull that off now. Maybe Marion Cotillard.
I love her.
Oh, she's awesome, yeah.
She's a classic beauty.
She is. But let's move on to favorite directors. Mo?
Regular listeners, and I'm sure you guys also know my answer now. It's going to be Edgar Wright. It's going to be.
I love Edgar Wright.
He's someone who it's technique and it's intelligence and it's maturity and it all works. It's his comedies. It's not just relying on using actors and dialogue as a tool for comedy. It's using cinematography and editing and score and composition, all this stuff. Like it's using every part of the buffalo to try and make jokes. But there's also actual subtext to his movies. They're about growing up. They're about looking back on your childhood, on your nostalgia, and kind of picking them apart. And it's stylistic and it's intelligent, and he does really great stuff. And I'm really looking forward to Baby Driver because that's going to be good.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. Yeah.
So that's my pick, Edgar Wright.
Yeah, I think we're all fans, and I think I love that you bring up the depth of his work, because I think we're all Scott Pilgrim fans here, and every time I watch that movie, I'm struck by moments like where Michael Cera falls on his knees and says, "Oh God, it's so alone," and it's funny, but it's not at the same time. I mean, like you said, growing up is a big theme, and that played into the World's End in a big way.
There's carbs and bread.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to play into Baby Driver to a certain extent.
Again, looking back, just dissecting this small town nostalgia, that's interesting to me. Just in larger than life terms, where it's like, oh, Hot Fuzz. It turns out that this small, idyllic, perfect town was actually managed by a crew of murderers who were systematically taking out anyone who didn't fit their idea of what a perfect British town looks like. And then you got The World's End, where it's like, oh, our small town was taken over by aliens, by body snatchers. And just like this, like how he describes like the the faux homeliness of the taverns, how they all look the same with like these chalkboards with the with like their specials on it, and it's like it's all the same. It's this facade of authenticity and of like small town homeliness when it's like, oh, this is a corporation.
Yeah.
You know. So Edgar Wright, that's my pick.
Max, what about you?
Again, any regular viewer will know my answer, Tarantino. I don't know. I think he has this weird strive for perfection that doesn't always hit the mark, but I mean, it's also, he's one of those directors, you see like 2 or 3 scenes, you're like, that's Tarantino. You hear the dialogue, Tarantino. Like, I admire him. I find him, unlike you people, I didn't go to no movie school. But, so I
have a BA in film from PSU. That's not exactly...
Again, more book learning than I've got. But, and I really appreciate that most of his brain and knowledge and expertise started with, I'm going to work in a video store and I'm going to watch everything. I'm going to watch everything I can put my eyes on. I'm going to find a director that I like. And I'm going to watch everything he's done. I'm going to find a writer that I like. I'm going to watch everything he's written. Like, and he's just going to he has this weird just knowledge. He goes, oh, you could tell him about a scene that you're filming, and he could think of like 30 other movies that did a very similar scene, and recommend 4 of them that you should probably watch before you film that scene. People like to make fun of the fact that he's annoying, but I'm like, you know what? He's an odd dude, but this is the other thing. He has this real strive for perfection. He goes, why would I want to make, 100 movies where 70 of them are mediocre, and, only 30 of them are pretty great, and, maybe a handful of bad ones. He goes, when I could just strive to make 10, maybe 15 films that are just great. Like, he goes, that's my whole filmography. You look at it and you go, the worst thing I've done was Death Proof, which, still, really good. So, I don't really think that's his worst movie. But, so I think he puts a lot into it, and I love watching Kill Bill once or twice a year. Just sit down and watch it, makes me cry every time. The fact that he looks at Pulp Fiction, he wrote the script of Pulp Fiction and said, I guess it's good enough. That was his idea of just, he's like, I think I just need to walk away from it. That was his sentence. He told, when he let Rodriguez read it, he goes, I think I'm done. And they're great movies. Jackie Brown, spectacular. Reservoir Dogs, wonderful. How could you not hear "Stuck in the Middle with You" and not?
That song is ruined forever.
It's ruined. He literally ruined a song. Like the soundtracks to his movies. Like he doesn't really have a score to most of his movies. It's just soundtracks, and they're all so good, and they're all like. And that was what I love about, or what I disliked about Django Unchained is like he just finds music and he puts it in where you would never expect it to fit, and it works. Like a David Bowie song in Inglourious Bastards called "Putting Out the Fire with Gasoline," which is it's
thematically appropriate.
It's thematically appropriate. Yeah. It really alludes to what's about to happen, but he uses it as the point where the main actress is getting ready for the evening, and like it fits so well, and you would never think to use a David Bowie song in 1940 Germany. So I would go with Tarantino. I think at the very least, I know his filmography is going to be spot on, even if I never get a Kill Bill Volume 3, which is fine.
What you're talking about with him reminds me. I was listening to him an interview where he was talking with a bunch of other film critics on Charlie Rose's show, and it was right when when Jackie Brown was in theaters.
Oh yeah.
And he was he was talking about people write things like, oh, the movie's too slow here, and he said he said like at least acknowledge that the way it is, I meant it to be that way. It's
supposed to be that. Like even what was it you could say Death Proof. You're like, what's with all the dialogue? Like you just watched Kurt Russell kill a bunch of girls using a car, including his own passenger, and like everything leading up to you're like, what's the point? You have this really big action sequence, and then it drops off, and it's now back to a bunch of girls talking, and it's like, the dialogue, everything has a point. And Inglourious Basterds it has that one point where we're rolling, and then it just kind of slows down in that one bar sequence. But that whole sequence is a powder keg, as it.
It's all
it is.
Yeah, and that's the point.
Absolutely.
Is he always and that's the point. Is like you said, he does everything he does for a reason, and it's beautiful. I think it's wonderful. I love watching it, and I think he gives you hope. Unlike the Donald Trumps of America, I want more Quentin Tarantinos who are like, I'm gonna put in the time and the effort and learn. Maybe I'm not gonna go to school, but I'm gonna know how to do it, or I'm gonna pay my dues. I saw him as an Elvis on Golden Girls recently.
What?
Yeah, there was an episode where someone gets married and there was a bunch of Elvis impersonators. It was a weird mix-up, but he's one of the Elvis impersonators.
I have a feeling he was good at that.
He was all right. I mean, it was a bunch of people acting like Elvis, so it was hard to pick out the standout Elvis.
Tarantino, I'm a fan of him too, but what I like is it's the same stuff that again made the film brats. It's the same stuff that made Spielberg and George Lucas great. It's that they're taking like the kind of trashy nonsense that they liked as a kid and then redoing them with like classic film techniques and making gold.
Yeah.
So it's like
absolutely.
so with Tarantino it's like, hey, let's take these like cheap exploitation flicks, these drive-in nonsense stuff, and let's turn that into something really, really good.
Let's take a revenge flick and a samurai flick, and then make a woman the lead.
And a gangster flick. And just put it all together.
Well, I think that's cool. I think that Tarantino's like, I would like to do a gangster film. I'd also really like to do a horror movie, which, who knows what that would even be about. I thought most of his movies were horror films with the amount of bloodshed and all of them.
Wouldn't that be what Death Proof was?
I think, what would I consider the
Wouldn't that be what From Dusk Till Dawn was?
And he just acted in it.
He wrote it too. He co-wrote it.
I think he helped write it, but I think it was mostly Rodriguez.
Rodriguez and him.
Yeah.
Also, there's like a scene where he sucks on Salma Hayek's foot, so that was definitely him.
Yes.
Tarantino likes feet.
He does like feet, and I like Salma Hayek, so we would have something to talk about. I don't know.
Well said. Well said.
I like the woman that was attached to that foot you sucked on in that one movie. How was that?
I want to be a fly on the wall for that conversation.
Well, now we got to get him on the show. We got to start doing interviews.
I know, yeah.
Oh, I would love to conduct an interview with him.
Well, I'm moving on to
your favorite director.
Yeah, no, you did a tie for your actors, so I'm going to do a tie for my directors because
He did a tie for his actors.
You did
I did two ties.
Right,
I did actor for actor and actress.
Well,
Mr. Indecisive over here.
I love everyone. Leave me alone.
Well, I decided to do my my favorite mainstream filmmaker and my favorite not so mainstream filmmaker. I picked Christopher Nolan and Terrence Malick.
Oh, what? No.
I know, shocker. But
I am shocked. Shocked.
I love them. I love them for different reasons and the same reasons. I think for me, in terms of Christopher Nolan, I don't think there's anyone right now who I personally think can do a quest movie as well. Like I think he always tells great stories about heroes on a journey, whether it's a character trying to solve a mystery like in Memento or Insomnia, or a superhero like Batman or Inception, or the quest for the far off solar system and Interstellar. I think he takes those classic narratives, he imbues them with a lot of philosophy, a lot of emotional depth, just stunningly beautiful images, and I love that. And Malick, I think, is totally the opposite. He flies in the face of classical cinema. He doesn't even really, make traditional, he doesn't even really direct traditional scenes anymore. He, directs, just beautiful fragments that he merges into, these strange, surreal montages that don't always make sense, but I feel like
I don't know if I like that.
Well, it makes sense, I think, on an emotional level. Like I was just rewatching the Tree of Life, and the scene where Sean Penn goes to this beach that seems like heaven. You see him, walking through a doorway or through a house, and it's strange, but it has this weird and epic feel, and I love how he doesn't conform to norms. He's not he doesn't say like, oh, I've got to develop my characters perfectly. No, he'll throw you into the midst of a strange moment, like in his new film Song to Song, where all of a sudden he cuts to a hand trailing in water, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And what him and Nolan share is a real sincere approach to storytelling. And I'm a sap. I'm a sucker for like really big, emotional, heartfelt stories, and which is why I really take issue with the idea that Nolan's a cold filmmaker. I think he gets warmer with each film, and oddly, it's strange to say because Interstellar was his most fantastical film. It was also his most ordinary film because it's about the passage of time. It's about aging. It's about death. It's about family, and it was the most emotional film I think he'd ever done. But it certainly wasn't the first, because you can go back to Memento, which is about a guy trying to avenge his dead wife, albeit with an amazing twist that turns the whole revenge film genre inside out. But that's why I picked those two guys.
It feels like a lot of like I'm going back like mentally through all of the Chris Nolan movies I've seen, and it seems like a lot of his movies are about fighting emotion and then embracing it. So like you see that with
yeah.
It's definitely true, absolutely, for Inception, because it's like we have to do the job, we have to do the heist, or we have to implant the memory, but the distraction is mourning his dead wife.
Yes.
With Batman, it's like we have to fight all these supervillains, we have to protect Gotham, and the distraction is his dead girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah. And there's both like in both those films, like there's there's that great line in Inception where Ellen Page says of his wife, do you think you can just create a prison of memories to lock her inside? And that's what he's trying to do. And in the end, he has to confront the emotions, and confront the grief, and it's only through confronting that grief that he's able to complete the mission. And with Batman, the perverse thing is that he has to come to the point where he's ready to let go of Batman and actually like be a human being and unite with other human beings.
Ugh, it's the worst. Being a human being.
I know, it's hard, right?
And with Terrence Malick, I don't think I've seen any Terrence Malick films. But at the theater I work with, we do theater checks. Like every 40 minutes, we'll just check in, make sure projectors working. No one's dead. Projectors working. No one's brought in beer, whatever. And we had Night of Cups and we had Song to Song. I saw clips from Night of Cups. I saw clips from Song to Song. They looked like the same movie. It's just like, here's a dude standing next to a window filmed with a fisheye lens, which looks kind of unsteady and cuts at random intervals.
Well, here's the interesting thing about those movies is he shot them very close together. He shot them almost back to back, and they're really two parts of the same story. They're both exploring the idea of a guy who goes into a creative industry and gets lost within that industry and has to find his way out. In Night of Cups, it's the film industry, and Song to Song, it's the music scene in Austin. And the thing that I love that he does is he tells those stories without condemning either industry. He both of those movies end with a kind of conclusion where the hero kind of emerges from the world of the city and starts to get more back in touch with nature. But he doesn't say all industry is bad, all art is bad. He can't, because he's an artist himself.
He's an artist in an industry.
Yes, yeah, and that's why he does. He made the brilliant choice of having Patti Smith in a big role in Song to Song, and he shows her existing in this industry and being so balanced and so thoughtful and stable and wise.
How old is Patti Smith?
I'm not sure, but she's really great in the film, and it really creates this idea of like, these characters, the characters played by Ryan Gosling and Rooney Mara, they kind of have to leave that world behind. But he's saying you can exist in this industry and be a good person. It's just these particular characters have to do something else because they've lost their way for whatever reason.
Oh wait, that was Terrence Malick. I actually saw the trailer for Song to Song.
That was Terrence Malick. Yeah.
It also,
it's so good. Yeah.
Based on the trailer, it also looked like I could have guessed it was the most normal Terrence Malick film in a while. But that was just the trailer.
It's always, his movies are always more normal than I expect because I always, in my head, I think, it's Terrence Malick is just going to be like the most strange thing, and then I'll watch his movies and it's like, oh, he does do a normal scene sometimes. But yeah, Song to Song, Night of Cups, great films, yeah. And speaking of films, should we all go around and say our favorite film?
Didn't we already do that?
No, I just did directors and actors. But I mean, honestly,
in a past.
For the benefit of Joe, we can do it real quickly.
Here.
If you guys
real
want.
quick.
Well.
I don't really have a favorite movie, but I would say the ones that we've talked about today: Kill Bill, Volumes 1 and 2.
I mean, it's just one long movie.
It is. Well, the original cut was one long movie.
Wow.
He did like a 3-hour version of it for Cannes, and he got like a 10-minute standing ovation. Or not Cannes. Yeah, that's the French one, right?
Yeah.
Cannes.
Yeah.
He did Cannes because
The S of Silence just can't.
Yeah, Cannes.
Because it's French.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh, so French!
Those French.
Zoutalon.
I mean, the fact that I've watched Millennium Actress, I think 3 times this year, one of my favorites, which is an anime. Also probably be one of my favorites. I can't even remember my list at times. Do you ever think back when we did those lists and you're like...
I remember 9 of them.
I keep revising the list I gave in the
I can't.
I'm always going back. It's like, I don't know. I want to make room for this.
No, I'm thinking top 5. I would definitely put those 2. And then recently I was like, what would I put in my top 5? And I'm like, those ones, and I can't even remember any of the other ones now, and I feel like a bad movie person for it. But yeah. I would put those 2. Yeah.
I love what you said about Millennium Actress last time. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Mo, what about you? I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it's still In Bruges.
Nice.
It's still Martin McDonagh, Ryan directing. He also has a new film coming out that looks so good.
Which one is it?
The Frances McDormand one.
The
right?
billboards
outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
And this, there may be an essay somewhere in here, but I would have to read more of his place to do that. But his thing seems to be emotional angst and personal trouble reflected by location.
Nice.
And most of the time in his plays, it's rural Ireland. It's like rural Ireland and Northern Ireland are just the worst. So The Lonesome West, Beauty Queen of Lene, these places where these characters are just Cripple of Inishmaan, characters who are trapped in these go nowhere places with terrible people and trying to get out or trying to find meaning in life.
I wonder what his life was like growing up. Because I feel like he could...
But then you get his movies and you get something similar with In Bruges where they paint I'm going to talk about him as a director, so strap yourselves in. In Bruges, where Bruges is basically purgatory, where it's removed from time because it's the oldest medieval city, and so we have these characters show up and it's there's nothing for them to do but reflect on their actions, and it's are they okay with what they've done in their life, or are they so consumed with guilt that they're tortured by it? And then you got Seven Psychopaths, where it's Hollywood, where it's everyone is insane here. That's what I got from that movie. It's been a while since I saw it, but everyone is out of their minds, and our main character, who is clearly an author insert character, because he is an Irish screenwriter named Marty, who lives in Hollywood, the only way he can deal with it is drinking himself into a stupor. But yeah, In Bruges. In Bruges is my favorite feature. It's funny, and it's heartbreaking, and it's really well shot. The score is lovely, and it is really fantastic performances from everyone, and that's my pick.
I don't remember which video or podcast this was in, but I remember one time you described the.
That was
the
my
ending.
audition to be in.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, I loved your take on it. Yeah, I always thought that was super cool.
I didn't see it.
Oh my god!
I still need to see it. Yeah. My
I've
favorite
already
film of
told
all
you how it
time.
ends.
Yeah, that's true. My favorite film of all time. I mean, I have a ton. Spider-Man 2, The Empire Strikes Back, X2, Titanic, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, The Dreamers, and so many more. But my favorite film of all time, it's still lost in translation. It's I grew up loving very, very extravagant films. I was a fan of musicals from a young age. I was a fan of Star Wars from a young age. I always loved going to other worlds, and Lost in Translation was the first movie I saw that was about a pretty ordinary situation, but had this this beautiful poetic larger than life quality. From the minute Bill Murray sees Tokyo for the first time and staring at just these immense skyscrapers, with all the flashing lights, and it's such a beautiful portrait of a city. But I think it's also a great story about friendship, and the pace is so slow and the conversation so natural and real. I feel like every time I watch the movie, I feel like I'm living inside it, getting lost in it, if you will.
Oh, I see what you did there.
And I mean, I could talk for years probably about the ending, but I think Sofia Coppola took the whole story to a very unexpected and mysterious yet really moving place in the end, and so that's why it's still number one for me.
Still good.
And genre?
Genre, yeah. Who's got a favorite genre?
Comedy.
Why?
Oh, I love.
Aside from the fact that it's
I
funny.
love to laugh. I think, and it can be done so many different ways. And I don't know. I like to escape and forget about my life sometimes, and I find I don't want to forget about my life by watching someone else's misery.
Sure.
And also just like the people I loved growing up, like Robin Williams was like the end all and be all actor for me for several years. I was like, this guy's hilarious. Like I could, I thought Bill Murray, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, just any funny person. I watched them and they made me laugh. I was like, I want to be funny. I'm like, look at how happy they make these people, and I just think a good comedy is great. I think comedy actors make great dramatic actors.
Yeah.
And the fact, what is it they say? Comedy actors make great dramatic actors, but not every dramatic actor can do comedy. And so I think in its own way, it's kind of special.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. There's just something about it. It just lightens you up, and you're just like, I feel good.
There was Jason Reitman. He used to do live reads.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. Those sound super cool.
Yeah, where he would just. I think I've told you guys this story before, but it's this. I'm heartbroken I didn't get to see this. He does live reads where he would just gather a cast of his actor friends, go on a stage, and they would read a script, and it would be a script to a famous movie, and it was just done for fun. And so he was at the Just for Laughs festival in Toronto, and he was going to do a live read there of The Big Lebowski, and the cast of X-Men Days of Future Past was nearby, and they're like, we want to get in on this.
Whoa!
And so he cast Michael Fassbender as the dude and Jennifer Lawrence as Maude.
Wow!
And it's like, Michael Fassbender as the dude sounds like terrible, terrible casting, and I want to see it so bad.
I want to see that now too. That sounds
the entirety
fantastic.
of the dude is he doesn't. It's not that he doesn't care, but he's very at ease. He's constantly.
It's like nothing phases him.
He's constantly relaxed. Michael Fassbender is the most intense dude on the planet. I would pay good money to hear him say "the dude abides."
I would pay good money to smoke. I would pay good money to smoke pot with Michael Fassbender. I would love to see him.
He would be. He seems like it would be really cerebral. He'd just go off and start talking about whatever.
Oh no! See, I feel like
it makes me think about Proust.
See, what would make me? I imagine him as just just completely zombified. But you okay?
I feel like he's
fine. Like, all right, cool. Like, that's how I.
He's just barely holding back at any time. Like there's just an eruption of thoughts waiting to come.
Sometimes that happens to me. There's one stream I was like, I love this. My brain goes so fast and I get so many ideas, but my body can't like do anything with it. So I just sit there thinking them. And then I come out of it, and I don't remember any of it. And it's great. And they're like, why is that great? I'm like, I don't know, but I like it. That's what he needs.
And the other thing that reminded me of it, of what you said, is seeing Foxcatcher. And seeing Steve Carell
I just saw that for
Steve
the first
Carell
time.
John DuPont. And
That was terrifying.
Like, it is, but then it's... I just remember that scene of him trying to be like that wrestling coach... And he just looks so pathetic, and it's like, oh my god, he's Michael Scott.
Yeah,
like it translates.
It's just in a different way.
It's still this guy who wants to be in charge, wants to be like seen as this important figure, and he just can't do it. He's not convincing in the role.
Yeah,
and that's something Steve Carell sold really well, and that's struck me as interesting.
Yeah. So I think I guess I would just go with comedy. There's very rarely are you gonna go, hey, do you want to go see this comedy? And someone's gonna go, no, I'm really in the mood for like some bummer documentary. I don't know. I certain people I work with, but Mo.
I just want to add really quick.
Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, and I would add that the comedies are some of the movies I watch the most. I mean. When Harry Met Sally, one of the... I've seen that, like, way more times than I can count, and, a big part of that is, makes me feel good.
Well, and also, comedy's great, because, I mean, you can inject a little bit of drama in a comedy, but there's nothing quite like finding the right time to inject a little bit of comedy into a drama.
That's true, that
just makes you... that's really the saving grace for a lot of dramas, where it's like, oh, this is really heavy. Let's add something weird here.
You need some levity.
Yeah, and that's...
Like, that's why, like, have you ever seen the anime Attack on Titan?
No.
I watched the first season. I can't get through it, because there's no comedy.
There
is no levity. It's just everyone is angry and sad all the time. Always. Forever.
Ugh.
And it's
I get enough of that in my own life.
By the
Am
text,
I right?
But my God.
So, comedy.
Mo, what about you?
I was, like, the lazy answer is I just like it all.
Or the dude abides.
Man. But I'm probably gonna say sci-fi. Because sci-fi, you can get both. You can get these larger than life spectacles. You can do these you can go to these new worlds. You can see this new technology and different ideas and cultures and all this stuff. But you can also be smart with it. You can say something. You can use it as a mode of reflecting on reality. It can be satire, it can be commentary, and it can do these really amazing things. It can be removed from reality enough to be an escape, but close enough to be relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll say sci-fi.
It's funny. I actually picked sci-fi as well.
Oh, I'll change my answer.
No, something different.
No, we were gonna agree. No, but I mean,
that would be new and different.
I like it for a lot of the reasons. I think you said. I think especially the idea that it sounds weird to say, but I often think that sci-fi films, comment on reality more successfly than realistic films do. I mean. It's not true in all cases, but I think about Arrival. Like I can't think of many movies that so beautifully advance an anti-Trump point as Arrival. I mean, it's done brilliantly. I mean, WALL-E is one of the best movies about global warming. Essentially, implicitly, not explicitly, but definitely implicitly. Same thing about Interstellar, and the other thing I like about sci-fi is that I feel like sci-fi films are always really trying to breed a level of empathy. You have again, to go back to Arrival, this fear of the aliens, but then it's about overcoming that fear and reaching out to this other species. But then you can go back and you can see that in the 80s in James Cameron's The Abyss, which is doing much the same thing except underwater with a pink squid thing, and it's
They both featured squids.
yeah, that's true. But I find that
Ben's favorite movies are movies that feature squids.
But I'm also thinking like Strange Days. The technology that they use is called a squid device.
this is yeah. I mean, there you go.
Quick follow up: Harry Potter's because they feature squibs.
But yeah, I mean, this is why sci-fi is so great. There's so much compassion in sci-fi. Even Star Wars, which is really science fantasy, gets into that with starting out with Darth Vader, the Machine Man, and then gradually humanizing him and taking off the mask and upending the idea of a simple divide between good and evil. So yeah, science fiction.
I mean, sci-fi is a great category. You could almost call it a subgenre or it has several subgenres. It could be a sci-fi that's a drama like Interstellar, or it could be a sci-fi that's a comedy like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah, another one of my favorite films of all time.
It could be a sci-fi fantasy like Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, there are all these things. Like, sci-fi can be whatever it wants. It's just the only difference is it takes place in space, or it's dealing with. It's like instead of going, oh, we can't have that. That technology doesn't exist. It goes, it exists here.
Yeah,
it's a cell phone in your hand. that's your movie. It's like, oh, well, we don't live on Mars. We can in sci-fi land. that's really the beauty of sci-fi. It's any genre you want it to be, plus whatever else you want to imagine on top of it.
It's such a broad genre, as you point to. I mean, Darren Aronofsky's The Fountain, which I think is one of the best films of all time, is a movie that with a magical tree that where the sap makes people young, and a spaceship that looks like a bubble, and it's still considered sci-fi. I don't know how it's sci-fi, but for some reason it is.
Going back to what you said about how like sci-fi can be more real than ostensibly like movies about real life. I think sci-fi gets away with that because it's kind of just being general about it. You know,
yes.
Like it's like you look at Star Wars and it's just this basic morality play. It's fascism is bad and we should fight it. You look at Star Trek and it's kind of the same thing. It's like this liberal, idealized future where it's like we put aside all our differences and now all nations of the world are going to go forward in the spirit of science and exploration and the betterment of all life in the universe.
But still claim it in the name of the Enterprise.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking about in relation of two movies that came out recently. So like you got Mad Max Fury Road, sci-fi, commentary on feminism, on patriarchal ideals, and again on fighting fascism. Meanwhile, you look at something like say something that's ostensibly about real life, like Boyhood or Manchester by the Sea, and it's like you're describing a very specific set of circumstances that I personally didn't go through. Like I watched Boyhood, and I grew up.
You grew up, and you are in fact a boy.
That both of those facts are true, but I'm not. I didn't grow up in Austin, Texas. My parents weren't divorced. I didn't go through all these specific events that the kid from Boyhood did. I look at Manchester by the Sea. Thankfully, I haven't gone through like
any of that.
Yeah, thank goodness.
But it's the idea of but that's what I'm talking about. Is that sci-fi? You can comment on these ideas. You don't have to go into too many specifics, but you can relate it back to reality. I'm talking about comics now because I'm me.
Nerd.
He's talking about Star Wars for like 10 minutes.
And I also called him a nerd. We're all nerds here. Carry on.
Recent comic that's come out in the vein of Mad Max is called Bitch Planet.
Oh yeah, Kelly Sue
DeConnick,
right?
Portland local. She is the best. And it's like the not too distant future where women, it's literally controlled by a patriarchy, by a council of old white guys who decide what's best for the world, and women who are deemed non-compliant are sent to the Auxiliary Compliance Outpost, aka Bitch Planet, which is just like this off-world prison colony. And non-compliance can be like violent crimes, theft, and then
just disagreement.
Just disagreement.
Not darning my socks right.
Seduction and disappointment.
Wait. Seduction and disappointment, like they offered up seduction, but it was disappointing, so you failed.
No, it's implied that the woman in question was a tease or whatever.
Oh.
So like they're like all this kind. If you do not fit into a specific box, you will be sent to Bitch Planet, and it's like it's this ridiculous out there sci-fi concept, but it's not too far removed from the world we live in.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
So like that's.
I'd like to see that movie.
I've thought about writing a thing of like this should be a movie, and it probably will be at some point because A, people are gobbling up like indie comics to turn into movies and TV shows left and right, and B, Kelly Sue DeConnick and her husband and also writer Matt Fraction have developed their own production company, so they're trying to fast track various comics to become TV shows. They already have Sex Criminals and The Wicked and the Divine being workshopped into TV shows. It will probably come to a screen at some point or another. I don't know how, since I don't think you can advertise something called Bitch Planet in an 8 o'clock time slot.
Depending on the channel.
That's true.
And also, well, what do we get? Don't trust the bee in Apartment 23.
Right, but
we just call it Bee Planet.
It takes away from it.
That makes it sound like a Roger.
Well,
Corman
no,
movie.
you just call the title Bee Planet, but there's like certain rules. Like there's only so many bitches you can get away with on certain channels. I mean, the show was called Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, but they called her a bitch at least once. Every time they're like, "This is a bitch from Apartment 23."
But not in the title.
No, you can't have it. Good luck getting rid of the title, but they could just call it B with a bunch of asterisks and then play. Anyways, I'm not in charge of the series, but I would love to get a job.
My point is that's what sci-fi can do. It can create new worlds, but also reflect on our worlds.
Yeah.
And also after this, I'm going to talk about something else because I have stumbled upon one of like the worst examples of dystopian sci-fi ever, and I need to tell more people about it.
Oh God!
I can't wait to hear.
Okay. If you want to know what it is, go Google "Save the Pearls." I apologize in advance for you having to know that this is a thing that exists.
You dug your own grave. He warned you.
So to check out Save the Pearls,
that's on you.
I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning with nothing to do.
It's your life. You figure out what to do with it. I'm just saying.
You do you.
It is one of the more stunningly racist things you will see published in the modern era.
No, I'm scared now.
A couple things I like. I think it's interesting you bring Boyhood into this, and the idea of like kind of the specific versus the general with science fiction, and I think that kind of that broadness, that fairy tale quality is like why I think it's it's kind of possible to relate to a character like Luke Skywalker or even Rey in the Force Awakens, and I like that. I really
Finn is honestly one of the more relatable characters I've
Finn.
recently.
I love Finn because
he has no idea what's going on, but gosh darn it, he's trying his best.
Yeah, and I always feel like Finn and Rey are almost like they almost seem like like Star Wars nerds when he's like did you say that? Like I love that. It's like
that's Star Wars heroes for millennials because they're figuring it out as they go along. Like you got Luke Skywalker who's like this starry-eyed kid who's like I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna make something of myself, and then you got these two kids who are like, we'll try. I mean, we don't really have a choice.
Yeah, and it's great. Yeah, and also I want to go back to. It's interesting what you said about Star Wars being about fighting fascism versus Star Trek being this utopian world. It's kind of I think it's it's a testament to just how much flexibility there is in science fiction, and how much potential there is to tell really complex, nuanced stories that in both those franchises you see those things really well established, and then you get to see them, inverted. I think like through like Darth Vader, Star Wars humanizes the Empire to a certain extent, and I think Star Trek, you get the utopian vision in the Next Generation in the original series, and then you go to something like Deep Space Nine, where you see other parts of the galaxy where things aren't as utopian. There's a great quote where Captain Sisko says, "It's easy to be a saint in paradise," and kind of referring to like the people in Starfleet don't.
They're not in the trenches.
Yes, exactly. They part of the reasons they're able to have this utopian society is they're not forced into situations where they have to make a lot of hard choices sometimes, and again a testament to the genre. But that I'm going off on a tangent. Is there any?
This show is nothing but tangents.
That's what people expect from us,
10
right?
minutes about Star Wars.
Hey, I just answered the question. Is there? I think it's about time to wrap things up. Is there any final thoughts you guys want to share on anything?
On anything? That's a broad topic and sounds awfully tangential.
Anything film related?
Go see movies.
Go.
See movies.
Yeah, you don't want your theaters to disappear.
Go see movies in the theaters. Yeah, or you're all gonna be, we're all gonna be, cyborgs, watching Netflix, with a chip implanted in our brain, or I think I just pitched an Ender's Game sequel.
Here's mine. My ending quip. Go see Personal Shopper if you want to see Kristen Stewart not be bad.
There you go.
Okay, sure.
And you can see her boobs. Oh, I'm sorry. That was awful. I'm sorry. I do feel bad for that, but it was shocking when I first saw it.
I mean, it's just a statement on the content of the movie.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, absolutely. While we're saying go see movies, I am gonna put in a pitch for the Promise new movie starring Oscar Isaac about the Armenian genocide. I think it's being judged really unfairly by critics. I already went off on a tangent about this on Facebook, but I'll do it again here. But it's Armenian genocide deniers have tried to suppress the movie and give it really low ratings on IMDb, and there's all this this crazy stuff going on around. But it's a flawed movie, but it's a really solid movie.
Never even heard of it.
Really good. It has great performances by Oscar Isaac and Christian Bale. Delves into some really horrific atrocities, but also celebrates human decency in really difficult circumstances. So
wow,
that's
like
my plug for the Promise.
A big bowl of fun.
It's a great movie. It's really satisfying movie. Yeah.
I haven't seen a movie I really wanted to hype up for a while now. So I'm just gonna say the last one that I thought about, which was Get Out.
Get out!
Yeah.
Which is probably still. I know it's still playing at my theater
It's playing
today.
at the Laurelhurst. If you're here in Portland for some reason,
you've probably seen it already. But go see it again. Bring some friends.
Get out and see Get Out.
Find a crowd to see it with, because that's the best way to see it.
Yes.
It's really well put together. It's going to be on my best of list at the end of the year.
So soon, but we have so much to see.
That sounds like our version of an after credits scene teasing the future.
We always have best. It's not really a tease. It's just we're sticking to the schedule.
Don't ruin the magic.
You always know there's another Captain America movie coming though too, and that doesn't stop them from teasing those either. I think that's all. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions. Thanks to you guys. If you like this podcast, and why wouldn't you? Please click thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. Don't forget to check out all our reviews at THOmoviereviews.wordpress.com. And from all of us here at THO, happy movie watching.